Guru in the house, back with another bang on video. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Arsenal have received a boost in their pursuit for Dio Upamecano because Barcelona were set to be one of the leading contenders to sign the RB Leipzig defender, but that could all change actually with La Liga chief Javier Tebas suggesting that tough new financial rules could be introduced. He said, "We have seen the cash flows for each club, and right now they have squads which exceed the financial limits we will establish for next season. That brings consequences. Clubs are going to have to look at the academies and come up with a strategy to reduce salaries. There's no other solution. Transfers that exceed financial limits will not be allowed. That it would be impossible." And that is a huge blow for Barcelona, who are actually looking to sign Lautaro Martinez and, most importantly, Dio Upamecano. Well, moving on, Arsenal loanee Dani Ceballos wants to return to Real Madrid to see out his contract. He says, "I'm happy and I have a contract with Real Madrid. Let's see how that will turn out for him." Moving on, Jack Wilshere has revealed that Unai Emery advised him to leave Arsenal despite having a new contract offer on the table. He said, "I got offered a new deal and I wasn't really happy with it. But Arsene was doing everything he could for me. We got to a point where I'd almost agreed it. Then the news came that Arsene was leaving, and I just thought, how can I sign a new deal that is based on appearances with a manager who I don't know?" When Emery came in, I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with him. We did, and he said basically, if I were you, I would leave. You're not in my starting 11. He had plans to buy a midfielder. I think he bought Torreira, and I wasn't in his plans. Well, moving on, Arsenal have inquired about Nicolo Barella, but Inter will not sell him, and let's see how that things will become. But moving on, well, it's a big fact. I would really like to know that Mark Clattenburg has spoken about Jens Lehmann because he said he was just so irritable and never stopped. One of those miserable blokes who would whine about everything and everyone. If the ball was round, he would whine. If the ball was right, he would whine. You would think, just give it a rest. And he went on saying he would do snidey little things himself that made it difficult, and I didn't enjoy refereeing him at all. He was erratic, and his antics were not easy to deal with. I think he was competitive enough, so I think I can understand how exactly and why actually he was doing that. But moving on, Thierry Henry has revealed what he said to Arsene Wenger on Cesc Fabregas' first day at Arsenal. Henry said, "I remember the first time you trained with us, and I looked at you. I'm sorry I had a bad haircut, but that haircut you had was pretty bad. I looked at you, and in those days the shirts were too big for anyone. But on you, it was like you had a dress on. It was so big. I looked at the boss and said, 'Who the hell is this?' And he said, 'Oh, it's the kid. He won the World Cup with the under 17s.' And I went, 'Oh, that's him. He finished best player or top scorer or whatever it was.' So I remember people were talking about you. I saw you coming, and man, I saw you, and then the team, it was you against Patrick and Gilberto, and went, oh my gosh, all the very best. But then you started moving the ball around, playing one-twos. People like Patrick and Gilberto couldn't get near you, and that's when we knew you could play with us straight away. Then you go and score in the Carling Cup, and rest is history. I mean, these guys are legends, and when they speak about Arsenal like that and their experiences, unbelievable. Moving on, Troy Deeney has blasted the plans for Project Restart. He says he actually cannot see how exactly it would plan out to be. He said, "I'm not even talking about football at the moment. I'm talking about my family's health, and that is it. What are they going to do? Take money off me? I've been broke before, so it doesn't bother me." And that is a very bold and big statement. Well, moving on. Well, talking about it, let's talk about how exactly, Brighton's Glenn Murray says he cannot understand the Premier League's rush to get back next month. He says phase 2 hasn't been drawn up yet, but I think they're looking at a mid-June restart for the Premier League. Football isn't a necessity. It's a game. It's a sport. What if we go through all this rigmarole of trying to get back, and we have a second peak and have to stop anyway? I can't understand why we're in such a rush to get back. Why not see how the country deals with the stopping of the lockdown first before we even start unnecessary sports when people are dying all around us and the death rate is still high? Well, moving on, Arsenal are still going back in for Julian Draxler. Well, German's time at the PSG is set to come to an end this summer, and he has already rejected a move to AC Milan. But he would definitely want to move to a club that actually gives him that awful amount of wages that he earns. But moving on, Arsenal defender Shkodran Mustafi has praised Mikel Arteta's coaching after taking over as Gunner's boss. He says he's a little like a professor. He knows exactly where he wants the players to be when on the ball and how to react when losing the ball. It's very special. When I pass, I'm usually only focused on where to be if we lose the ball, but he wants me to contribute offensively too. So we constantly need to make an option for the player on the ball. When you are 28 and you play in different countries with other coaches, you think you know everything, but they came in. There are things I've never known before. Well, one Arsenal fan has shared George Graham's program notes from his first game as the Gunners boss. He said, "What I want to achieve," it actually reads, "What I want to achieve at Highbury is obvious: an effective team, challenging for honours and playing attractive football. As a new manager, I'm in the process of bringing my ideas into the club and assembling the squad of players I want. I shan't put pressure on myself by setting a time limit to get that done, but obviously, the sooner the better." Well, two First Division titles, an FA Cup and a European Cup Winners' Cup. Later, Graham did the top job, and you'll never guess what the score was in his first game, wasn't it, Gucci? Well, moving on, Arsenal have stressed that KSE are providing them with financial support, although the specifics of that remain a mystery, with the club and ownership unwilling to comment further about the speculations. But over the nature of this speculation, the support has ranged from a possible cash injection to a declared willingness to underwrite the current situation. Let's see how that will turn out. Well, Inter Milan want Barcelona to accelerate negotiations for Lautaro Martinez by end of May, so as to not be without a clear substitute for Lautaro. Well, Italians are already negotiating with the number one target Timo Werner or Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, but they need the money to face the final negotiations. So if Barcelona come up with it, they need to make it quick for them to actually finalize the deal. Well, these were the news of the day. I hope you enjoyed whatever came your way. If you still watch my content without subscribing, please subscribe. I'm very much close to reach 4,000 subscribers, and it would be a great favor from your end towards me. If you watch my content, if you're an Arsenal fan, you must subscribe because this is the channel where you get all the Arsenal content, and even a pandemic won't stop the content from coming to your YouTube notifications. I will see you in my next video. Until then, cheers.